Welcome to Off Ledger, the podcast for accountants that explores the personal side of the profession. Becoming an accountant, and more importantly thriving as one, is no easy task. Hearing how others have navigated their paths can offer both practical insight and reassurance for those facing the day-to-day realities of the role. In each episode, we share honest, real-life stories from firm leaders, uncovering the twists, turns and defining moments that have shaped their careers. You'll hear inspiring stories, candid reflections, the occasional story of success pulled back from the brink. Subscribe to Off Ledger, and whenever you need a reminder that you are not alone, we'll be right here for you. I would like to introduce you to Liam Wilson. Liam is the director of Elevate Accountancy in Wrexham, and he's got a story about how he got into accounting and what drove him to get into accounting that is very, very interesting to understand the emotional drive of why someone has got into the firm. But Liam, tell us a little bit about Elevate, what it is now and what your life is like now.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, so Elevate now, we're a team of 8 now, so and life's good. It's getting our work-life balance back, so not working weekends anymore, and sort of finish around 6ish, so each evening, so I'm starting to get my time back.
Was that a real driver for you?
Yeah, it was always about a balance. You know, I work hard, but I like to have that balance. Obviously, I've got my partner Rosie, and she works hard as well. So we just need our time. So we've got our little dog Pepper. So we just like going out and walking and relaxing, going traveling, holidays, whatever. Just living life. You know, I've always been family orientated. You know, we always grew up in a sort of small family, so family's just so important, and having that time to spend time with family is just means so much to me.
And does that flow over into the relationship that you have with your team? I think you've got, is it 7 staff now?
Yeah, well 8, yeah.
8 staff.
Yeah. No, team are great. I feel like when I started Elevate, I just wanted them to be open, you know, have them conversations with me. You know, we're all adults. We all need to work in different ways. So I just like them to be open, have an open, honest conversation, tell me if I'm doing anything that's annoying them and vice versa. And it's just really nice that they can just give me a call anytime and just speak to me. And yeah, they all speak to each other, which is nice. And we work a lot remotely, so so having a team that do speak to each other is really nice. And yeah, it's a fine balance. Obviously, we're all friendly, but obviously it's client and business focused as well. So, but I think we just got a really good relationship.
Awesome. So let's go back to kind of how you got here, because I think that seems to have molded the way you've built Elevate. Tell us about the early days, when the very start.
Yeah, of course. So when I was sort of younger, my dad had a business, so he's in the taxi industry. So I had a business with a business partner, and it was quite a big firm in Wrexham, and went into financial difficulty. And an accountant that wasn't very proactive, and a business partner that was, trying to cut things out at the side and do other deals. And that nearly, near enough put us homeless. My dad had to work sort of 16, 18 hour days every day of the week, 7 days a week to ensure that we stayed afloat, to pay obviously all the bills and the call fees and disputes and all sorts. So it was a really tough time. But yeah, so that shaped me. I
And you remember that really vividly?
Yeah, really vividly. I just remember he wasn't there. You know, he was having to work, and he was always there prior to that. And that's what I said before. You know, we're always really close as a family, and family time's so important. He's a really hard worker, and just, you know, now he's got a really successful business, and he's semi-retired, and he's loving life again.
Good.
But yeah, it was just a tough time, and seeing someone go through that. You know, everyone gets into business to better their life, and sometimes get into difficulty whether through bad advice or just not understanding. So that got me into accountancy. I went to college, and I was a college dropout, felt like a failure. And yeah, I thought, why don't I try an accountancy apprenticeship? So I applied for a few accountancy apprenticeships, and got one with a guy called Gareth Salomon in Wrexham. He used to run a firm. Now he's gone into accountancy software. So I started with him. Was there for a few years, and then moved through to different firms, the sort of private equity firms, Azets, DJH, Haynes Watts. And then launched Elevate sort of 3 years ago.
But what got you through those? I mean, you work for some major firms. They're not easy to get into. What were you good at that allowed you to succeed and get those roles?
Yeah, I was always driven to do well. You know, my family's a poor family, and I wanted to try and sort of get some income to make sure that I can support them. So very driven in that way, and very driven in helping clients, which naturally, you know, accountancy is a client focused, you know, sector. It's like if you can deal with clients really well, then your reputation just grows. So yeah, I really was invested in the clients, and that sort of helped me progress. Became a system manager very quickly, then into manager, and then into a sort of regional manager in my niche. So it was quite quick succession through the ranks, until I went on a partner accelerator program, and then the sort of red tape started flowing in. So I just saw, why don't I do this myself? I was bringing in so much money into these firms, so just saw why do that for them, and just take the plunge.
So what was it? It was more of the sales side, or
Yeah, well, I worked in the accounts team. I'm managing a team of accountants in many of the firms, and client managing as well. But off my own back, used to sort of ensure I was networking and posting on social media, and gaining a following and bringing in clients into the firm. So because, you know, I just wanted to help clients, and if I could sort of bring them into a firm that I was working at, and had a team underneath me to help me, then, you know, that's what I did. So yeah, I've always been focused on sort of bringing in work as well.
and then how did you respond to I mean, what seems like quite a rapid promotion, quite a rapid progression in those firms? Were you comfortable? How did you feel about that?
It was tough. I went into one firm, I think, as an assistant manager. It was during COVID times. So assistant manager during COVID. I'd only just qualified ACCA, and I moved from one firm to being assistant manager. And when I got there, I thought I would have managers above me to support. And I got there, and there was no managers above me, so it's assistant manager straight to partners. So that was a steep learning curve.
Right.
I was working 70, 80-hour weeks just to ensure, and they'd just been bought by private equity. So obviously I had targets to hit. So they had to hit a sales target, and yeah, so I just worked, and obviously we were still remote because COVID was going on. So it was trying to work with a team, brand new team, remotely, and trying to hit a target essentially managing the team as an assistant manager. It was good fun. Learned so much, and yeah, we hit target. I think I improved efficiency within the accounts team by $250,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and a small firm. I think that office of the larger private equity firm is about 1.2. So to improve
Mm.
efficiency that much was what got us to target.
It's pretty impressive. But so you sound like you were flying at this point. Um, but what was it about the way that private equity what the impact that had that you weren't so keen on?
I think it was just a blockers for progression, and maybe it was me. It was my fault, and you know, I'm very ambitious, and sometimes challenging. Maybe I was unemployable in a sense, and I just wanted to go through the ranks and learn. Keep learning from people. And that sort of blocker of trying to get there was it for me. It was just constant red tape, promises of promotions. You'd get to the date of the promotion and then it was another excuse, and then you'd wait again, it was another excuse, and it just kept happening. So yeah, for me, it was just, I was doing so much and I just thought, well, if it's not going to be reciprocated, then let's look at something else.
So that didn't knock your self-confidence?
It does a bit, yeah, yeah. And this is it. You start to, think, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? So it does. You start to really doubt yourself in that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got through that. And what happened? So what were you going through when you said, okay, I've had enough, I'm going to set my own firm up? Because that's a huge step.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I was at a firm, again, trying to get towards partner. I think one of the partners was retiring. And I was on a partner sort of acceleration program. So I really wanted, it's funny because I went from wanting to own a practice when I was younger, working in firms and thinking, oh, it'd be good to become a partner and do it that way. And then I got to the stage, one of their associate directors or associate partners left the firm to start their own practice a year before. And had a conversation with them. And they were like, what's the worst that can happen? If you leave, you try it, and, if it fails, you go back into a role. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And just go for it. Yeah.
So you've decided that you're going to make that jump. What went through your head in terms of, I'm taking a big risk, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, I was worried financially. We were looking to, just before our launch, we were looking to purchase a new house. We were actually put an offer in, and I went on holiday. And it was whilst I was on holiday, I'd really thought about it, and that's when I made the decision that I was definitely going on my own. I had to pull out the house sale, because I would, if I signed for that, it'd have been too much financial pressure. I was really lucky. My partner Rosie, she said she'd cover the mortgage for 6 months, so she could, she'd do that for me to give us the opportunity. And yeah, I wrote on my book a forecast of what I wanted to do in the first year, and it was just to try and cover my salary that I was on in the firm, and it just took off from there.
Amazing. So you were really locked onto this,
Yeah.
and that sounds like it was. I mean, you probably did a lot of soul searching, right? But
Yeah.
it was quite smooth. So has it been smooth all the way? I mean, what's been how has this impacted on you, do you think?
Oh God, no! I took on a client manager really early. Couldn't afford them. Just took them on. I was like, if we're going to do it, we're going to go for it, take the risk. So I took on them, and then I took on an admin manager soon after, and then I took on third my bookkeeping manager. And that was all in the space of the first year. So it was tough. But what the day I took on my bookkeeping manager, the sort of day she started, we lost our biggest client. And yeah, they were paying us 30-something thousand pounds a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a scary time. We're helping them prepare for sale. So we were doing a lot of project work as well, and that was just the recurring revenue. So we were having project work as well on top of that. Obviously we helped them sell, and then obviously the new buyers pretty much wiped out their supplier network, and yeah, it was it was a scary time. Yeah,
If you hadn't been so good at helping them sell, you could have kept hold
exactly.
of it. That's the irony. So So that must have been a hairy time.
It was, yeah,
You worried a lot during that.
and then you're just looking to see if you can afford it financially, and you just took someone on and took them away from a firm that they were comfortable in, um, to a new startup, and just the whole, you've got, you've got families to feed now, you got staffs, families to feed, and the stress of all that. But I think that sort of just drove us to accelerate growth quicker. From that day, I was going through every contact, every lead, anyone and everything I've ever spoken to try and get work. And we just accelerated. And I think that it's needed sometimes. I think that pressure on you is what is needed for growth sometimes, and making sure that you can exceed.
So as you've gone along, a lot of people that I've spoken to as part of this podcast have talked about imposter syndrome
Yeah.
and that sense that they've got to somewhere that they didn't necessarily deserve. How does that resonate with you? Is that something that you
All the
experience?
time. Yeah, I pinch myself all the time. I just think, you often feel lucky that you're here, and why you're here, and um, are you good enough? Generally, and yeah, you're constantly doubting yourself. And then get asked to do things, and you think, "What? Why me? Why am I why are they asking me to do that?" Or you're winning big clients, and you're thinking they should be used. Why aren't they using some of the big firms? And there's so much imposter syndrome. Um, and yeah, it is a lot, and it gets lonely as well.
It gets lonely.
Yeah, it
How do you
does.
deal with that? Or tell me about that.
I think I've been quite lucky to have other modern firms, of networks that you can pick up the phone to and have a conversation, WhatsApp groups, meet them up and meet up for a coffee, sort of go to sort of retreats together to talk through issues, and just find your people that way. I think accountancy, when I was going through the ranks, I just felt that they were all very competitive against each other. You used to sort of yeah, just be fully compatible, never work with each other. And I sort of felt out of place. So coming into accountancy, accountancy business, I thought that was the same. But yeah, I was quickly shocked at the other side of accountancy, where it's very collaborative.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone's willing to help, and it's really nice. I remember making one a huge mistake when I started, is because you were so used to the corporate world. I think when I launched Elevate, someone else had started a Elevate Accountancy elsewhere, so a similar brand as mine. And instead of just messaging them trying to sort it out, I straight to legal to send letters and stuff. And because that's what I was used to, was, corporate world of, and I remember getting a letter back, and it was the nicest letter from the other side I've ever seen. I thought, what have I done here? What have I done? I've been like a bull in a china shop. And then I have a conversation. I'm really good friends with them now. I speak to them all the time, and yeah, we've got a great relationship. But it just proves the difference in the sector. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, you see that when you go to any of the conferences and
Mm.
you see potentially competitive people,
Yeah.
absolutely collaborating and sharing, and I find it absolutely wonderful. But that's interesting that you took that approach, that kind of hard-nosed approach, and then
Yeah.
kind of regret that.
Oh,
Um,
massively. Yeah.
yeah. And then, as I say, you've achieved a huge amount. I mean, this is a massive achievement that you've got there with the firm as it is. But still, I mean, I think you were saying earlier that you've been asked to do something in the coming weeks, and you're a little bit unsure about doing that.
Yes, yeah, no, I've been asked to speak at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and I was looking at the speakers on there, of like Simon Squibb and the guy that runs Simmer Eats and stuff like that, and really big companies that are speaking there, and I'm just thinking, again, imposters, why imposter syndrome. Why me? Then there's some really big speakers. Why do you want why do you want me speaking there? So yeah, and I've been put off whether I do it or not. Because again, you just think, can I do it? Why have they chosen me? So yeah, it's the joys of being a business owner, isn't it? And we said before, got to put yourself out your comfort zone. So
Because I think you're going to do it.
oh yeah, everyone's telling me to do it, but yeah,
I don't think you've got any choice. So
yeah, that's true.
awesome.
Yeah.
So would you have any final messages for someone who, say, you met yourself when you were starting out in practice, and that person didn't necessarily have the confidence to really go for it? What would you say to them?
I think it's take the same advice I did. It is a risk as long as you can financially look after yourself for a few months, one way or another, just save up a bit, or if you've got a lovely partner that'll keep you afloat for a couple of months, to give it a go. And like I say, what's the worst that can happen is you can go back into another role. And I just take time to review softwares, review processes, and making sure that you've got a nice streamlined practice from day one before you launch. Because as soon as the clients start coming in, then you want everything to be in place just so that you can get out there and win work and deliver an exceptional service.
That all important tax and account software.
That's it. That all important. Yeah. I knew what software I was using about 6 months before. I had all my processes set up, website done and everything. I was ready to just knew I was planning as soon as I went on holiday. I think that was around September. And then obviously I've launched the following July. So I'm planning from then, pre-launch. And I was just getting everything set up.
Well, you've achieved an amazing amount. Elevate is a wonderful firm, and I'm sure it will go on to do wonderful, wonderful things in the future.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations on that, and thank you very much for sharing your story with Off Ledger. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
You've been listening to Off Ledger, the podcast where accountants share their personal stories of success and failure as they evolve to become leaders in the profession.